All right, now it's time for the on-foot segment. Fortunately, this is one of those missions where once you're done with the vehicle, you're done. Whereas in later plot missions, you're kind of going back and forth between the Mako and on-foot shooting.
Why are we on foot?
Because there's a big rock wall in front of us and we can't drive over it.
That's quitter talk, Lewis.
Also, we need to go indoors anyway, so...
So wait to get out of the truck until we get to the doors.
But if you want a serious answer, it's because the game wanted to force you into a situation where you had to fight one of the Geth Walkers on foot. So that you could have a sort of boss fight. I mean, there aren't really any boss fights per se in Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 2 has a couple, but
Hey Shepard, have you tried hovering?
Okay. I love the throw ability, and it's unfortunately...
Oh, you mean force push?
Yeah, it's unfortunately one of the abilities that isn't treated the same way in later games. I mean, there is an ability to throw enemies away from you in later games, but it doesn't have that ragdoll-tastic impact to it. So...
That's a shame.
I mean, as a general rule, biotic powers in the latter two games are much more reliable.
Rex, you're in front of my camera.
Get out of my camera. Get out of it.
You're in my spot, sir.
Personal space, Rex. Personal space.
Now, I always recommend taking out the shock troopers first, which I'm not doing here because I used a stasis. I used a stasis ability to hold it in place. But the shock troopers will slowly make their way closer to you, and if they get close to you, well, you're going to take some hurting because they have shotguns.
Time for some hurting. All right.
My least favorite part about this area is the sniper, actually. The sniper can drain your health real quick.
Snipers always suck.
If I was playing a class that had access to a sniper rifle, that would have been the first thing I took out, but I was a little too far away from it to effectively aim with a handgun.
It's a great thing these rocks cover splash damage.
Yeah.
They
Count
don't.
about 7 times where you should have lost your arm.
They don't. That's why I've lost my shields already.
Oh, barf.
The thing is, splash damage will hurt you more in this game than it will in the others, but it usually takes off of your shields. And the thing about your shields is they regenerate fairly quickly, unlike your health. So, splash damage, a lot of the time, if it hurts your health at all, it's going to be some sort of unnoticeable sliver that doesn't really affect the flow of battle at all. So...
You said this game doesn't, okay, so, hold on, I'm sorry. I barely pay attention sometimes. How does this game has shields and health. What did they change about it in Mass Effects 2 and 3?
Essentially, your shields in Mass Effects 2 and 3 are just a second regenerating health bar. It's the health bar that goes down before you start taking actual health damage.
So it's just health.
Yeah.
So, but your normal health regenerates in Mass Effect 2 and 3 as well, whereas...
It regenerates fully in Mass Effect 2. In Mass Effect 3, you have a segmented health bar underneath your single shield bar. Your shield will always regenerate, but if you lose an entire segment of health, that health segment will not regenerate unless you use Metagel.
That makes a surprising amount of sense.
So, but in Mass Effect 2, the entire health bar regenerates, which
Yeah.
made Metagel's kind of pointless.
Metagel becomes just a recovery item, revival item, rather. So, and you can use Metagel once you have a specific character ability in Mass Effects 2 and 3 to do a quick heal on yourself in order to keep your health up when you're in a situation where you can't quickly get to cover, which is handy, but it doesn't work the same way it does in this game, where it's more like a traditional RPG healing item.
Boss time.
Sort of. Oh, great.
Liquors?
It's kind of weird to think about it, because when I think of Mass Effect, I don't generally think of, oh my god, what the fuck is happening to Shepard's hair?
Happening with your face!
Anyway, this is an annoying battle, because not only do we have to fight a Geth armature on foot, and we have several shock troopers to deal with on top of that, we also have the first appearance of these things. Geth Stalkers. Geth Stalkers are the most annoying enemy in the entire goddamn franchise, and they know it because they stopped using them after this game.
They're only stalkers because they're ugly looking. If they were attractive looking, it'd be sweet.
Basically, they jump around like jumping beans, and you have to swivel your gun around to hit them, and
It's like, no, stop doing that.
it's goddamn annoying.
And they bounce real quick, too. Like, they could go from the ground to, like, the other side of the room ceiling in, like, 2 seconds, just...
Yeah, and, they're the developers of this game must have known that they were the hardest enemy, too, because in this, because the final boss is just a reskinned Geth Stalker, essentially.
Yeah, a little, I guess.
It moves and fights exactly the same way. It just has a rocket launcher attack on top of that, and a hell of a lot more
What
health.
is this thing missing? Well, why don't we give it a rocket launcher? Just leave it alone. Just give it a rocket launcher.
Now, if only you could shoot nukes from the ground with a railgun.
One of my favorite tactics, and it's more useful. It's actually more useful in Mass Effects 2 and 3 than it is in 1, is to pause, line up my aim with the center circle, and then just instantly hit the fire button the moment I unpause. Rex!
Rex!
Rex, come on! I should have had no problem hitting that thing. Ugh.
So your allies can block your shots, but they don't take damage from them?
Fight like a warrior, Shepard.
God damn it, Caden.
Quit dying.
Oh.
That's a shotgun. What are you doing firing on that for?
Because once you've gotten your shotgun up to a certain level, it really doesn't matter what kind of distance you're shooting at.
And it's not a shotgun.
Sure?
I can definitely vouch for New Game Plus, where if you have the best shotgun, its reticle is so small and it hits.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Ah, you missed.
The splash damage didn't hit me that time. Excellent. Okay. Bam! Excellent. I knocked out all of its
Nice.
shields.
Then do it again.
Can I-
do it until it dies?
Can I force push it into the lava?
That'd be amazing.
I wish you could, but I think the most you'll ever do with biotics against a Geth armature is to make it stop standing for a little bit. And
You
that's
can
what
actually
you've done
run
with
into
it
these
all.
things with the moon buggy. Like, you can actually knock them over with the buggy, and I did once knock them into the lava here in Therum in the first opening part when they start dropping in. I purposefully ran into him, and I kept pushing him to the lava. And,
Does it
kill
work?
him?
Does it kill them?
yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, that's good.
It's just kind of a hassle to do, really.
But it's amusing.
You end up just powering it up, and now it's Geth armature on fire.
Now, one thing you want to avoid doing with any enemy, especially an enemy that has a lot of health like that one, is you want to avoid not shooting at them for any length of time, because if you give them time, their shields will regenerate the same as yours will, and that means you have to take their shields down again, and that's annoying. So keep the pressure on.
Do they explode when you finish them off?
Yeah.
Does that
Yay.
explosion hurt you? Fuck you, 15.
I didn't know that would happen. Thanks for the warning.
Yeah. Anytime you kill a Magitech armor, get away from it.
I haven't fought any yet. I'm not that far in. I only got mine.
Oh, no, it's really early on in the game, so it's nothing spoiler.
Yeah, I only got my copy 2 days ago because the Amazon
Just a little
shipping was
tip.
a little delayed.
Just destroy a machine. Get the fuck away from it.
Yeah, okay. Well, that makes sense
Blows
considering Final Fantasy 15 has this almost painfully realistic approach to its
You know,
feel.
I remember back in my day when you killed an enemy, they just vanished.
And they gave you kill and magic fire rings.
It's like whoosh. It just vanished.
And then we all dance.
Everybody stands still and does a little flippy animation with their swords and
Yeah.
whatnot.
We were gentlemen. We were gentlemen back then.
No,
Ted.
even if you're timed and you really need to get a move on, you still wait to do your little flippy sword animation to celebrate the fact that you
There
won.
are rules of engagement. That's the Geneva Convention of RPGs, Ted.
What about the Genova Convention?
I like Final Fantasy 15, but at the rate this is going, we'll probably have done a full-length impressions video by the time this is uploaded. So, yeah, I'm not going to talk about it here.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that.
Oh, man.
You know what Mass Effect needs? A car. Not a moon buggy, like an actual car, like a convertible. Make it happen.
Well, actually, in Mass Effect 2, you get to drive a speeder car through the air in a sort of vaguely Attack of the Clones chase sequence. It's a really fun little mini game sequence, actually. It doesn't last very long, but it controls well, and it was a nice tense situation.
No shit.
This is how I like my caves. Completely unique and unidentical to other parts of the game. Thank you. I like how you can just take cover with your back against the energy wall. You're not going to damage your weapons doing that? Maybe disintegrate your back?
It's like a pillow.
It's nice. It's warm and comfy.
I like how whenever you get into any kind of elevator in this game, your characters put their weapons away for some reason.
Okay, if that's what that was. That's not what that was. Okay, I wasn't sure what that was. It looked like some sort of like fucking source filmmaker Gmod shit that just happened there for a second. I think I figured out what bothers me about Rex. It's because with a guy with a stature like himself, his posture is awfully generic because your characters in this game share the same sort of stationary poses, weapon poses. Rex, on the other hand, I think needs a more savage posture.
There's another thing, too. Mass Effect 1 has a specific standing animation that the other two games don't use, and you can really tell by looking at the way they move their head while they're standing, where they'll turn it left and right, like they're looking at themselves in a mirror. It's kind of strange.
Protheans sure build things homey.
Says the guy wearing white armor.
Yeah. And I don't speak jive, homie.
Word?
Anyway, there's not a whole lot left to do in this mission. It's kind of a quiet, tense cavern area with not a lot of enemies. There's a semi-sort of boss battle, I suppose.
Meanwhile, our allies are dressed in white and bright orange.
Yeah, it's just against some mooks, so it's not technically a boss, but it's a battle where you talk to the guy who's trying to kill you before he kills you. So, well, or gets killed by you.
Ooh, bright orange camouflage. Someone's playing Snake's Revenge.
Now, the best thing about this is that if you come here after completing all the other plot missions, she's delirious. Because she's been in here without food or drink for however long that took.
So you can do plot missions in any order?
You can do Therum, Pharos, and Novaria in any order you want. After you've completed 2 of them, another plot mission will unlock on the planet Vermeer. Once you've completed all of those plot missions, you go back to the Citadel automatically. It's obligatory. And then you have to do some plot stuff there and then go to the final planet.
So you have to do all 4 big plot missions. The first 3 plot missions are non-linear. Then you've got another plot mission, and then you've got linear plot missions until the end. Okay. All right. I was just wondering because it's actually kind of interesting. I wouldn't necessarily call, like, when I'm thinking about games like this, most of the times they don't let you do story missions in any order.
Yeah.
Like, I'm even thinking, for games even like Skyrim, aren't most of the story missions like you unlock one to unlock the next one and so on and so forth?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Within each individual, like, faction or whatever.
Yeah, the reason they do that is because it makes difficulty progression a bit of a mess. Although Bethesda is not the best at difficulty progression. Like, Oblivion and Skyrim have this problem where everything in the main plot is just mindlessly easy. And it's only the scaling enemy levels that provide any challenge. And Fallout 3, in particular, has this thing where a lot of the time NPCs, or in one case a giant robot, are doing the fighting for you in the main plot missions, so it doesn't really feel like you're winning the game.
And then you get to the final boss and you just one-shot him.
Yeah.
But BioWare games have always been really non-linear. Like, even Knights of the Old Republic with Star Wars, you can go from 4 different planets at whichever pace you want. They all balance the level of the enemies for whatever you do first, and Dragon Age was like that.
BioWare had, up until Dragon Age Origins, they had a pretty good formula for having a fairly non-linear progression through moderately linear story areas, I would say, is how it goes. Um, like the actual story missions themselves are are not particularly wide open, but your choices in terms of how you progress and in what order, sort of like a Mega Man-ish kind of system, except with an a non-linear game in place of a hub menu, I suppose you would say.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I find it interesting because, thinking about it, this is something that I think more video games could do. It's like, if you're doing a lot of stuff you do in video games aren't necessarily connected. So you could have certain plot elements happen in whatever order you want.
Yeah.
But it's usually just not. It's a lot harder to write that sort of thing, and as you mentioned, it's even harder to balance difficulty for it. So I understand why it's not done as much, but
The downfall of it appears pretty strongly in BioWare's games around that point in their developer lineup. It's what winds up happening is that the individual story missions have to either be tangential to the main plot or just sort of build up elements to it. Mass Effect 1 has Pharos and Noveria, which sort of relate to the main plot but don't involve Saren. And both of those have a side plot that they're chiefly focused with. But Vermeer, for like one mission, goes back to directly being involved with Saren and the Reapers, and then you don't see them again until Endgame. And it works, but it's also limiting in its way. It's hard to build up a character if you can't have them constantly available. You know?
yeah, that makes sense.
So you get more out of... I would say, like, even Dragon Age 2, for all of its problems, has a more consistent build-up for its main plots than Mass Effect 1 does, because because the events for those plots proceed in a linear order, and it's able to just focus on specific characters for a certain length of time. It has writing problems in other areas, but, well, you get what I'm saying. Hi, Liara.
Bye, Liara.
Well, then I shall say hi back. We'll find out next time.